Hi gardening friends, welcome back to Garden Avenue. So today we're going to talk about pumpkins. And what do you do after you have a successful pumpkin harvest? Now obviously you could just use them as decorations, put them all over your front porch, on your dining room table. But if you're like my family, you like pumpkin pie, pumpkin bread, pumpkin pancakes, pumpkin muffins. There are lots of yummy things you can make with pumpkin. So here I am with my 5 pumpkins. How do I preserve them so they don't rot in my basement before I can actually use them to make a pie? I'm gonna tell you how. We start with the oven. I'm going to cut all of these pumpkins in half, remove the seeds, and stick them on cookie sheets. Throw them in the oven at 350 degrees. We're just gonna roast them for as long as it takes. Usually about an hour, sometimes a little bit longer, until they're nice and soft. That is step 1 in our process. So let's get cooking. Now that my pumpkins are all cut in half, it's time to take out the seeds. You have 2 choices. You can take out the seeds and toss them in the trash, or my family really likes roasted pumpkin seeds, so I will be taking out the seeds and putting them to the side to roast later for snacks. This part is a little messy and a little annoying because stringy pumpkin doesn't always come out easy, but it's a necessary part of the process. So here we go. Okay, after all that very difficult, messy work, we have some very nice cleaned out pumpkin shells. All the seeds are in a nice bucket to go through later, and we are placing them all onto cookie sheets. These lovely cookie sheets are going into the oven at 350. And I will check them periodically. Once the flesh is nice and soft and can be easily scooped out of the skin, then we will be moving on to our next step. See you in a few. Okay, we're back. The pumpkin has been in the oven for about an hour and a half is how long this batch took. I just use a fork, poke the flesh, make sure it's nice and soft. As you can see, the color on the pumpkin, it gets a whole lot darker. And as you push the fork in, it's just smooth as can be. Nothing hard or difficult, unlike trying to cut them open in the beginning. Now we take a spoon and spoon out the flesh from the skin. And we will then move on to our next step. But first, all these pumpkin halves need to get emptied. Okay. All the pumpkin shells are empty and in a pile, and I still have my fingertips. I like to do it when it's hot because it's easier, but it can be a little rough on the fingers. So Now we have an entire bowl of pumpkin, but as you can see, it does not look like the texture of pumpkin when you pour it out of the can. It's kind of lumpy and chunky, some of it's stringy, but we are going to fix that with my trusty immersion blender. Now you have options here. You can use a potato masher, you can use your blender if you have a powerful one. I would be careful, it might burn out a engine. It might burn out the motor of a less expensive blender, but if you have one of those like Vitamix super blenders, you could use your blender or your food processor. I just happen to like my immersion blender. I think it's simple and easy and less cleanup. So we're going to take our big pile of pumpkin, use the immersion blender, and get it to a nice, smooth, uniform texture. Okay, all done. Now our pumpkin is a nice, smooth consistency, no stringy bits, no chunky bits, and now it's time to store it. So I store pumpkin in the freezer. What we're gonna do is we're going to take these quart-size freezer bags, stick them into a 2-cup measuring cup so that they stand up nice for us. Spoon our pumpkin into the bag. Then we will take it out, lay it flat. I like to make them, we're getting as much air out as we can while making them as flat as we can. Seal them up. All right, we will continue this process for the rest of the pumpkin. Then I will take all of these nice flat bags, place them on a cookie sheet, and stick them in my chest freezer. Once everything is nice and frozen solid, then they can easily be stacked and slid into any section of your freezer that works for you. I have a freezer upstairs, a chest freezer, and another freezer downstairs on the refrigerator. So I find if they are nice and flat, once they're frozen solid, they store in the least amount of space possible. So that's what we're gonna do for this. If you have a bunch of pumpkins, I highly recommend you try this method to preserve them so you can have pumpkin pie and pumpkin muffins all year round. If you like gardening, cooking, preserving, and all things food and plants, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel and join me here on Garden Avenue as we do all those things. Thanks, bye-bye.
Please like, subscribe, and share to this channel.